Welcome. Episode 44 of the Daily BEEShow with Matty B. Boom, boom. All right, we've got Samantha Moir again back in the house. Third appearance, so she's leading the tally for appearances on the Daily BEEShow. Followed closely by Nicholas Syme, a two-time appearer. And I think we might have, and Tom Crate as well. What a legend. So we're going to be chatting a little bit about 2019 and how to dominate it. Lukey, hello brother, good to see you. So I'm out here on the logs. I saw a snake yesterday, the day before yesterday, slithering down the road in town. Scared the shit out of me and my mate, Jamie. So I'm just a little bit cautious now about all this. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I forgot to add Samantha in. Oopsie daisy. Let's invite her. Let's get a little invite going, shall we? Invite. Oh, there we go. Sammy M in his house. Happy New Year, everybody. First episode back of the Daily Bee. We had a little bit of a rest yesterday. So jumping back on. Hey, here we go. Look at this big shed my parents just put in. This bigger. They bought a bus. You can't see it. They bought a bus because they want to deck out the bus. And they're like, well, we got a bus. We should build a shed to put the bus in. Like, man, spending all my retirement money. Jokes. All right, Samantha, can you join or what? Do I need to add you? Can you send me an invite? Yes, I can. Jace with the C.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Finally got it working.
Funky and fresh as ever.
2019.
Yes. I need to find somewhere to sit down now. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm just so nervous about snakes.
Oh no.
Let's just say, look, if I'm meant to be getting bitten, well, it's meant to happen.
Yeah. Have a nice relaxing weekend in the hospital.
Yeah, fucking hell, hey? No, I guess I'll be able to interview some doctors and some nurses.
Yeah.
Bit of a different take on the show. No, that's not going to
there.
happen. Let's not bring that into fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you?
Good. How are you? Let me just get rid of that.
Good.
There we go.
Very good. Actually, there's a lot of new people that have been jumping on. So how about... Oh, shut up, Tammy. Sook. How about you introduce yourself to those that don't know who you are and what you're up to?
Okay, so my name's Samantha Moir, but please call me Sam because that's my in trouble name and I don't like it. I run the Warrior Women Network. So it's a network for women that has two elements on it so far, which is a self-empowerment group for women, and there's a business aspect on it as well. So I help women both feel fierce in their personal life and also feel ready and confident in taking their businesses and their marketing to the next level, and understanding, how to connect with their audience and how to generate good, solid connections with, their customers and their clients and things like that.
Beautiful. And you jumped onto the into the 30-day Go Live challenge today and dropped a couple of bombs and just hit us with like a powerhouse of energy. You care to share sort of a little bit about who you are, where you're at, and what's going on with that?
I spent, and I've talked a lot about my excitement about 2019 and how hopeful and excited and pumped I am about it. 2018 for me was getting the foundations ready, doing the work, doing the build, from a business point of view, from a personal point of view, figuring it out, journeying with who I am and what I'm doing and what my purpose is and where I want to be and where I want to go. So naturally, I've been challenged at every point about my commitment to my changes, my commitment to how much I'm willing to actually change myself, as opposed to just looking for the outward changes about how much I would be confronted with. And I've been confronted with everything in the last probably 4 weeks. Health, money, relationships, everything has been a challenge for me. And kind of as we ticked over straight into 2019, I feel like everything in me is just being cracked wide open to go, right, this year, I'm so ready to step up. I'm so ready to show up, and I'm ready to embrace everything that there is about me and about what I'm trying to do, just unapologetically, just getting out there and doing what I want to do. Fierce.
Smashing it.
Yes.
And how lucky are the women in your warrior women network as well, man, to soak up your energy and to have that is fucking awesome. And I feel like to be a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited because everyone's going through their own challenges right now, right? Like I feel like everyone in the latter end of 2018 were just feeling it from every point that they could. Everything was challenging. Everyone, you know, getting ready for Christmas, everyone was just not ready. Everyone was trying to wrap everything up. They were just grappling for time, you know, trying to find time for themselves, trying to center. And then, yeah, I feel like we were all just wanting 2018 to hurry up and end so that we could get cracking on all the plans that we have had. So I've been watching a lot of the women running in my circles who have just kind of taken that time out, and they're just ready. Everyone's ready. Like it's time to just be here and be as authentic as what we possibly can, no matter what that looks like. It's like the time for worrying about judgment and worrying about what other people think. It's gone. It's gone.
Yeah,
it's 2019. It's not, we're ready to go.
The shackles are off. We're ready to run.
Yeah. Yep.
Fucking hell. That's epic. That's been, probably the same as my 2018 was. The year before was sort of licking wounds from past relationships and really discovering this this aspect of finding out who the hell I am and what we are and what it's all about, and just sort of self-discovery. And last year was just a deep dive into all of that, into uncovering all the crud that was just hidden behind this surface layer of crust that I've been polishing up for so many years and trying to avoid, and really ripping out a lot of that crud and exposing it. So that authentic self can really shine through. And I mean, that's a never-ending process, no doubt. But I really feel like yourself, myself, and a lot of people in our network has really paved a really solid foundation for themselves moving into this new year, so they can just open up, explode, and really do it unapologetically and sort of unencumbered, and just be in the present moment, be in themselves, and accept their creative uniqueness to share with the world. Yes. It's fucking epic.
Yeah, and I feel like you can feel it. Like I had so many people say, I just feel it coming. I can feel this change coming and this growth and this just powerhouse worth of energy just surging through everybody. And that's like, I can feel it too. Like I can feel that, like, no fucks given. Like it's just, this is the way that it's going, and this is the way that it's going to be for me. We just own who we are. I had a lot of my personality traits come crashing in on themselves. So who I used to be versus who I want to be, kind of with all those challenges, was smashing into each other. And I had no choice other than to confront it. So like for me, I always felt like I was trying to get away from someone who I was. And the more I was trying to get away from it, the more it was pushing itself up against me to kind of recognize that you just can't deny certain aspects. And I think from everything that I had seen and all the things that I had read, I wanted to kind of move into a place where I was more grounded. But my personality type isn't like that. So why do I keep pushing to be somebody that I'm not? I like adventure, I like spontaneity, I like fire, I like all the passion, and I'm trying to structure myself in a way that just wasn't allowing for me to be exactly who I was because of...
Wasn't your authentic self.
Yeah, and I felt like being a better, and I hate to like use this word, but I can't really think of any other, but like, how we have that social conditioning, and I really don't like to use that. But I hate labels like that. But I feel like we're also trying to be in this oneness place, and we're losing that human, like that real self-awareness of who we actually are and what we do. So I'm not one that I've discovered, especially lately, I'm not one to, if people need to reach out to me, I'm not the one to ground you. I'm the one to, you know, kick your ass and get you moving. I can't be all those things, and I can't keep trying to be all those things. I need to be really self-aware of what I bring to the table, and that is fire, that is passion, and that is drive, and that's what I bring. And the more I get away from it, the more fiery I end up getting in my own personal life. Like I'd start to rebel and things like that. So, yeah.
So true. I find myself a lot of the time telling people, like, if you want someone to listen to you and that you can lean on their shoulder and cry to, and that's going to tell you that just support you in what you're doing, support you in what you're doing, but support the stories that you're coming out with. You got plenty of friends to go do that. I'm not the one to do that. So
I'm
let's
going to
go,
be the blunt.
let's go.
Yeah, honest, blunt, straight up, no BS. It's, if you want the truth, I will give it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I was, a question came to me, which is, you and me are really out there characters in general. Like this is our character type, and you're up on the radio. I'm doing these. We're both online, flat out, just putting ourselves out there. But for those who aren't the extroverts, who aren't in the public eye, who aren't putting themselves in this way, I just wanted to talk about what it means to be openly authentic and express yourself openly, because I feel like it gets tainted a little bit coming from people like us, because we're in this, and it might mean that we're saying go out and share everything with the world and be this flamboyant big character, but it's not that. So what comes up for you, and speaking to those people, what would you say on that?
Okay, and I've had this question come up for me too, because I do share everything online and I do talk about a lot of stuff that's going on with me, but obviously a lot of people aren't comfortable doing that, and that doesn't mean that you're any less authentic, that you're not willing to share with other people. But I think in being your true authentic self is delivering who you are from a truthful point of view in the way that you feel comfortable doing it. It's about knowing who you are and knowing where those boundaries are. So, you know, you don't have to jump online and be like, this is what I accept and this is what I don't accept. But if you're, you know, more of an introvert, you still need to know, to be authentic in who you are, about where those boundaries are. You don't have to go screaming that from the rooftops, but it's about actioning that in the moment as well, or doing it in a way that still is authentic to you. So you're not, you know, having to go, you know, and be worried about confrontation or having to be so out there, but you still can be true to yourself. It's about knowing who you are and where your boundaries are, where your respect is, how you work, who you are. So when you do come to those things and those confrontations or those moments where you have to really make it clear that no, you don't have to go out and scream about it, but you can still go, okay, this is not me. This is as far as I go, and this is where I need to make it clear. So, and I do understand what you're saying about, you know, a lot of people feel like if they're not completely transparent everywhere, and people know everything that's going on with them, that they don't feel like they're being authentic. But I think in every moment, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or in front of a group of people, if you're expressing your truth that is true to you in how you feel, it doesn't need to be platformed. It can be in those intimate conversations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even think it needs to be right.
That's
just
right.
got off the phone with someone that was like, she is on the border. She's always sitting on the fence when she's delivering content, and she's like, oh, I sort of feel like this, but I could be wrong over here as well. And it's like one of my focuses just recently is I want to be more polarizing. So I'm going to be coming out with a lot of stuff that is a lopsided perspective, so I can get a bit more engagement in the conversation and open it up. But at the same time, being completely open to being wrong, and with the full awareness that I don't have every piece of information ever to be put into the Wikipedia or the face of the earth. So all we can do is speak with conviction on everything that we've had from the past up until now, and be open to learning something new. So just authentically owning what you do have, what you are about, what you are creating, and then taking really bold steps forwards. And that was where I wanted to lead to next, with taking bold actions. Like you can be an employee, working as a bench clerk, doing whatever you might be doing, right, as a tradie, but your actions in that role, if that's the way you choose to express yourself by being that of service to the community in that way, is how can you be that in a massive, bold, completely authentic way that is completely from your heart.
I've had conversations recently with people about this as well, about really, and again, like there's people like you and I who will take the bot, like we'll over leap to be, to be able to get to what we want to do, and we'll commit to things and we'll go after things. No, but some people don't like to do that, and that's fine too. But in order to make any action, it will start from the same point for people like you and I, and for other people that aren't maybe as courageous in that big move like that. And that is going, like for me, every decision is made within 30, like not even 30 seconds, 2 seconds. How do I feel about this? And it's made from that, like, does that make me feel like, do I feel confident in that or not? Like everything I can pretty much choose. All the logistics and stuff can be worked out. All the way of making the bold action to the level that you want can be worked out later. But I think from every step and every piece of bold action, in however from whatever scale that you take it on, for everyone comes from that one place, which is if you're coming from how you feel about it and how your gut reacts to it, yeah, totally, that you can make the actions accordingly to how safe you want to feel and how courageous you want to feel in those actions, if you are choosing to take, to actually go with how you feel about it and your intuition with it. So, I mean, I'm all for the big action. I'm all for, you only get one life and it's my life, and, for 50, 60 years from now, I'm going to regret all the things that I haven't done. And the only person I've got to look at in the mirror is me. So I just don't really care what anyone thinks. I don't care if you don't like it. Yeah, totally. I just totally feel like that. If you don't like it, it's not my problem. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah. And also with, there are going to be people that don't want to take big action, that are not ready to be, looking or diving into their authentic self yet. And that's okay as well. But I think the less clear we are with our message, the less authentic we are with the people that we want to be around and the people that we want to draw to us, then the more scattered the array of people that are going to be attracted to us and coming with a whole array of just different opinions, different ways of being. But I find that the clearer I become on what my beliefs are, on who I am and how I want to deliver myself, on the impact that I want to have on the people that I want around me, that I want to work with, that I want to be with, the clearer they come out of the woodworks to me as well. And so, yeah, I want to be around action takers, massive action takers. There's tie kickers everywhere, and I used to be one of them for a really, really long time because of that lack of certainty and that lack of clarity. And there's still a long way to go. But yeah, I find that the clearer I get with who I am and the more I am willing to make myself vulnerable and open up, then the more exactly the people that I need to be around come to me and find me in this fucking magical ways. You being case in point.
Well, it's the same with your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So if you're wanting to be around action takers and you're around tire kickers, like you were saying, it's like, well, what am I I'm so about personal responsibility, like everything surrounding you and what you're going through is choices that you make, and nothing has been clearer than that in the last kind of 4 weeks for me. And I mean, just to scale back to something you said earlier, I feel like action is subjective, right? So I need big action to feel like I'm breaking through and doing, but to somebody who isn't a big action taker, sometimes that phone call or that email is huge action to them as well. I think it's about just, I think I did this in another video, like all the happiness for me is outside of my comfort zone. All the joy, all the passion, all the fire, everything is when I'm doing something that freaks me out, that really scares me. But I know that I thrive in my personality type. That's how I thrive in there. But there are a lot of people that need more help to be able to be as excited about that. So sometimes it's subjective to how big that action is, to how we would view it, to maybe how somebody else would view it. And I feel like for anyone who is trying to take action steps, it's just about stripping it back to that core of, as you were saying, like that authentic self, and going, does this work for me? Is this good for me? How do I feel about it? Is this me being afraid, or is this, you know, because in the most cases you can do anything that you think of. Like there's everything can be worked out, everything can be figured out. But is it me, you know, and not even stripping it back to being like, is that ego? Is that da-da-da? It's like, am I just doing this because I feel like I can't do it, or I shouldn't do it? Or what is it that makes me stop right there to not being taking that action, no matter what size it is?
Yeah, I think that's a massive point as well, because again, something that's easy to get misconstrued is when I do say massive action can be someone that has, for the first time, allowed themselves just to admit that they have something that needs to be looked at. Like just every tiny step towards any goal is a massive achievement. So yeah, it can be misconstrued for get out there and do something bold in this sense. But also what came up for me was when you're speaking about getting out of here and really just trusting in that instinct, right? It is literally that this next century is the journey of 18 inches from our head to our heart, and accepting that our head is here to keep us safe and to keep us in that comfort zone, and to really share with us the potential threats as soon as we move out of that comfort zone, which we thrive on, but some people don't. But as soon as you recognize that that's what's going on, you can go, all right, my head's in here coming up with all these bits of information. I appreciate that. Thank you for keeping me safe, mind. Now I'm just going to drop my focus down into my body and into my heart and into my gut and just listen to my intuition, because it is binary. It is like, am I going to go this way? Am I going to go that way? And you know, like you're literally pulled in that direction. The hardest thing I've found from myself going through this and what I'm seeing in helping others learn the same process is the trust. Is that we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust that the universe is conspiring in our favor. We think the universe is fucking working against us, and we don't trust ourselves. So to go, well, my logical, rational mind wants me to go this way because I can see a couple of steps going that way. Perfect. But I'm being pulled in this direction. And that's where people have this disalignment, going, I want to go that way, but I'm being pulled this way, and they just can't marry it up because they're just not trusting themselves. And there's this such an attachment and like a fucking leech sucking onto that path over there, because they're so used to being told, think before you act. What did you think? What do you think about this? Use your mind. But it's like it's fucked. We've got to drop down and really start trusting ourselves, and that's when we'll get a lot more blissful.
Well, it's kind of, sorry to interrupt you, but it's kind of like using it in tandem, right? Instead of using head first, then heart, flip it and go, heart makes the choices, the head figures it out, right? So using it in a different way, instead of it being like, because the gut will tell you in 10 seconds, your head will figure out, you know, the easiest and safest possible path for you to go. But if you can use that heart pull, because it will it's never been wrong. So I don't know why we're not trusting, because it's never ever been wrong. Even if there's been situations where you've made a choice and it has ended up being a bad outcome, there's never been a time we haven't used that situation. It hasn't inspired somebody else. Like it has. I don't understand, even for myself, where does that come from, that lack of trust? Because it's always been right. Every time. The only time it's been wrong is when we've overthought something, or we've overplanned it, or we've, you know, thought of hypotheticals that, you know, could or couldn't happen, and we've kind of talked ourselves out of it, but it's never been wrong. So the lack of trust, you know, it's been right every single time.
Yeah. And not only that, when we look back and when you ask anyone, like all the pains and the challenges you've gone through in your life, do you recognize the benefits that you've gained from them and how they've made you who you are today? And everyone without fail goes, fuck yeah, of course. Would you change them? No. So then why are you so hell-bent on, number one, trying not to hurt or challenge or offend anybody else and give them the opportunity to learn, trying to like pack everyone in this cotton wool so no one gets hurt around us? I don't like hurting people. or then trying ourselves so hard not to fail as well, when we know that those are the things that helped us grow. Like, and this is such a common conversation. It's on every single quote and post, yet it's so hard for people to embody and let sink in and ingrain. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think because as much as what we know all the things, right, it's really, really hard to actually really own that, like really be like aware, because if we're worried about judgment or offending anyone else, it's actually more about where we're at in that situation. Like, do we, you know, you don't want to offend somebody, you don't want to see somebody hurting because of your words, or you don't want to, but it still, even if you dig underneath that, it's still about you. And it's always comes back to how other people perceive you or how you feel about it or what you've done, but it's always about you at the end of the day. Whereas 2019 for me, to kind of scale back to what we were talking to, I'm like, look, I'm not out to hurt people's feelings, but I'm not out to live my life to be so of service of everyone else's feelings that I get lost in there either. Like, why should I have to sacrifice myself to make you happy? I just don't understand why I would be doing that anymore. So if you're offended, that sucks, but that's on you. Like, it's not, you know, like I've done videos about this in my group about, we're all about being about ourselves and being about self first. But as soon as someone else is offended, everyone needs like a public apology, or they need something to make that other person feel better and to free them of that. But it's like, so what are you asking me? Not to be true to myself to make it easier for you? Like, isn't that completely the opposite of everything we're being taught? Like, I can only be me until it annoys you, and then you want me to be what you want me to be. What the fuck does that mean? You know, so... Yeah, I just feel like if you're speaking with intention of being true to you, people may not want to hear that, but that sucks. And sometimes they need a couple of days.
It's okay.
Yeah, be
Nothing wrong with being
offended. Be offended. Like, you're not going to get struck by lightning because because you've offended somebody. If your intention is just to speak from you, and I honestly can't stress that enough. Like, if you feel like somebody needs to change their language to make you feel better, you are then intentionally asking them to not be true to themselves anymore. And it's this bullshit cycle that it's like, okay, so be me until it annoys you, and then I've got to be what you need me to be, which is not me, and then I get annoyed with you because I'm not being me. Like, how does a relationship work in any circumstance like that? I need to honor you enough to give you exactly what I'm thinking and how I feel about something for you to understand exactly where I'm at. Like, I'm not going to leave room for assumption for you to guess where I'm at with something. Then you can take that information and mold the friendship or conversation however you want. But that's not up to me.
And even if you do offend or hurt someone, number one, it's bringing up their own insecurities, their own things that they haven't owned and loved about themselves. But also, you're giving someone an example of how to be authentic to themselves, and you're showing them how to own what they do and how to be that as well. So it's double upside, really.
Yeah, totally. And I think people are afraid of seeing people uncomfortable and pain and uncomfortability, and we're also worried about making everyone happy all the time, but life isn't happy all the time. Some of my biggest growth has come from me being uncomfortable and having to go outside my comfort zone and trying something new. You know, you would just, if it was meant to be comfortable all the time, you get a job at 16 and you would be in it for the rest of your life. You would meet someone at 16 and be with them for the rest of your life because it would just be comfortable, and that's just what you did. All those decisions come from wanting more, which some people do, totally, and that's good for them as well. Like, if that's what makes them happy, that's great. But for me, it's like, you know what?
Even still, I would even challenge that as well. So I'd even challenge that in the sense that I'm partway through one of Abraham Maslow's books where he talks about the journey of self-actualization, the hierarchy of needs, and his take on it is that being self-actualized and being the best version of yourself is a core need, just like water, food, and shelter is. As far as being and living to our capacity, self-actualizing and living to our peak is actually a core need, like a biological need for us to live. So I'd challenge people that do say, oh, well, there's there's people from all walks of life that they do this and they do that and they're happy doing what they're doing. Because I don't feel like that stereotype that we're putting out there right now is of someone that would be living up to their full potential.
Or maybe they just can't recognize that they're not happy enough.
Yeah, well, but that's a part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, because I feel like for me, I've moved a lot in my life. Like, I've lived in a lot of places because I've always needed change. Because as soon as I start to get too comfortable anywhere, I just get so bored and I get so restless that I would constantly be moving all the time because I just couldn't. So when I had children, I had to settle in one place. That was like my own version of hell, because I had to, for my children's sake, make peace with being in the one place. And I've really learned, for me, how dangerous that is for myself, that I need to find, and I've done reckless things trying to boost that adventure into my life somewhere or another, or creating just something new all the time, because I can't. And that's me understanding myself and my own personality type and what drives me, instead of being like, this is what I should do. It's like, no, I've never been able to do what I should do, and I should know that by now. By 30, I should know that just has never worked for me. I'll always be, there's always things about me. Oh God, it'll probably be never. But I mean, there are people out there that do like comfort and they do like being in that place. However, I would argue that is that fear that keeps them in that comfort. Because once you know something, once you know anything or anyone that well, then isn't it just like Groundhog Day then? Like these are things that I find really hard to understand. Isn't that not like Groundhog Day then? That you've just put a pillar in your timeline and just went, everything from here is just repeat, repeat, repeat. How do you grow? How do you... And I feel like that's a throwaway statement, like, how do you grow? But it's like, where is that? I like the adrenaline rush anyway of doing new things. But even if it's not going to the extremes that I go to, how do you find happiness in repetition? That's something I've always tried to work on.
Well, I mean, happiness in repetition, I can understand that. But what is coming up for me is this journey of evolution that as far as everything that I've come across, it makes the most sense to me, where that we are just evolving beings. And so we're all on the same journey of evolution. It's just a matter of how consciously aware we are of that. Now, a majority of people aren't even aware that that's a thing that's going on. They sort of feel like education finishes when they finish school or university. And then from there, they go work in their job, they have a family, and they sort of got this slap-on sticker that they say, oh, you learn something new every day. But essentially, that's about as far as their education goes, is to that point. Whereas as people evolve and as you raise your vibration and as you face every single challenge that is in front of you right now, I'm not talking about the challenge outside of you, I'm talking about the inner challenge. Every single day, if you overcame and was able to balance or harmonize or break through, whatever you want to call it, those challenges every single day, there would be another one in 100 years' time. It would never end. So no, I'm not buying it. Like I'm just not buying that. Happiness isn't the destination. That's not the destination. So people saying, oh, you can be happy just sitting around doing fuck all your whole life. I call bullshit.
I call bullshit too.
Is this going to be the year of offending people? Because I feel like also another pattern that I've noticed is I'm actually encouraging people to go and offend people in a sense where they're holding back because they're too scared of being judged. They're not really putting their foot down and standing up for themselves. They're not owning their own worth. They're not owning what they stand up for. And it's because they're afraid of hurting someone or letting someone down or this and the other. And I'm like, you got to fucking take that cotton wool off them and allow them to be offended, allow them to be hurt so they can grow, so they can evolve, because you're being fucking selfish by not allowing them to be hurt right now.
Well, it's just sitting on the fence, isn't it? Because you're not committing to, you know, and I'm all about that there doesn't have to be polarizing yes or no, like you're always growing, right? But people are so afraid of committing to their own opinions about how they feel about things and just being like, you know what, I don't agree with that, or I do agree with that, or I don't like that. Like they kind of want to leave that room to have grey area where it's like, well, then aren't you just kind of, you're not whole, like you're not being whole in who you are, because it doesn't mean because what I talk about today, I'm going to agree with what I've talked about 10 years from now. I could look back at me and go, what an idiot, you know, like, but at this point in time, this is how I feel. And based on all the information later, it'll grow, but it doesn't mean and nothing has kind of, I've seen a few things come up like in the news about somebody saying something 10 years ago, right, on their social media and them getting sacked. Nothing pissed me off more. Did you know what the one I'm talking about? I think it was the Kevin Hart thing where he said something
that's
and he said something 10 years ago and then he got sacked and got pulled up, and I was like,
mate.
Are you serious? What an idiot I was 10 years ago. You couldn't take my word for anything 10 years ago.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, and I'm like, are we now at that point where we're held to every single, like at this level where we're held to every, like there's no evolution of a person, there's no evolution of thought, there's no growth and understanding and empathy and, you know, being in situations that call for learning. Like most of my learning has come from me being judgmental about something and the universe delivering that situation in my lap to be like, you know, oh, you're going to be judgmental about this. How are you going to go when it's in your lap? And then I have to deal with it and go, okay, so I was really harsh about that. So I'm now learning that lesson. And that's, you know, so now my whole opinion of it has completely changed. Where is everyone on that? Like we're so held to these words. It's
in
just,
the box standards, Oh, well, we're going to put our fucking foot in it a few times, I dare say, over the next X amount of time.
No doubt.
I love the story. Jessie Itzer, his wife, I forget her name, but she's the lady that started Spanx. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. She told this story about when she was young and her and her siblings would come home and they'd have dinner with their parents and their dad would ask every day what's some mistakes that they made. And the only time they would get in trouble if they didn't make a mistake or didn't fail in some way that day, and they celebrated the mistakes that they made. I'm like, what a massive shift that would be in someone's mindset as a child growing up. Just that one thing, right? Compared to people that are like, don't fuck up, don't fail. You got a D, should have done better. Like, yeah, crazy, just mindset shift.
It's the level of expectation that we all say is from everyone else, but that level of expectation is purely from ourselves to ourselves. Like you said, you got a D, you should try harder, but it's kind of like, well, okay, so I got a D in that exam, but I know I didn't work my ass off. Like I know that that's on me because I didn't work hard enough. So, you know, the level of expectation that we have on ourselves, I find that their level of expectation on others is just as high, because I'll hear people say to me, and I'm sure I'll get comments about this, but I know that people go, I've got no expectation on anyone else. But when they do something for someone, they come back and go, well, I did this for you and now I need this from you and you're not doing it. And it will be used in that expectation of how they deliver to each other as well. So I'm like, my expectation of myself is like, and I mean, I've had young children, they've grown up a little bit more now, but I was just like, my expectation is just to shower today when they were babies. Like that was so it was like anything after that, but I had no expectation on anyone else because I knew how hard like I was when they were small, like just trying to get through life. So I normally find if you've got high expectations on yourself, you're constantly being disappointed because of the expectations on others. If you're a housewife with, you know, you've got these expectations to have like an immaculate house, your partner will normally come home and you've got these expectations for him to do certain things as well. And you know, like it matches each other like that. So I always find like, well, why are you being so hard on yourself? And then you wouldn't be so disappointed on others. Yeah.
So it's a mirror. Everything's a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's,
You
Because
go.
I love talking to people. Some people are like, how do you do this every day, mate? Like, take on these deep, heavy, like, topics of conversation. It's like, well, because I don't look at it the same as you.
Mm,
Because when you talk, I see you talking to yourself, not about the
mm.
shit that you think is going on outside of you. And it's a fun dance to get them into this state of realization.
Well, you're not emotionally, this is probably the wrong word, hear them, and you're there to understand what's going on with them and help them through it, but it's not your shit. So you can sit back. I can do that as well. I can sit back and hear people and help them through stuff, but it's not mine. So I don't feel the personal responsibility to fix it for them either, right? And there's a lot of power in
Yeah.
that, and being able to understand what is yours and what is somebody else's.
And also on top of that, it's that the place where I'm taking them to as well is a place of balance and understanding that
Mm-hmm.
their perspective, their lopsided perspective at the moment, where they're looking at this
Mm-hmm.
thing like it's fucked up, is
Mm-hmm.
actually perfectly balanced, and there is equally as much beauty from that experience that they're
Mm-hmm.
seeing as the pain. And so how can you be mad at something like that? How can you be frustrated? How can you think of it of any ill way other than gratitude and love and appreciation?
And just being able to be challenged on how you deal and cope with things. I've been challenged on that. Like all my internal mechanisms with everything, and being challenged on what about it being done another way. And the only way to be able to get to that point is being able to understand that you don't have all the answers. You don't know everything,
Mm,
and that you do need to reach out. And again, talking about offending people, you do need to reach out to be able to see other perspectives, because I think there's nothing worse than being in an echo chamber of just constantly being bounced back, told that everything is fine and that
mm,
you're handling everything the right way and that there's no other way of going about things at all. Because I think that's scary, because then you
mm.
will always feel powerless because you're doing everything that you think you can do and it's still not working, and you're not being told or challenged on any other way of doing it. So you're going to feel even
Mm.
more helpless in your situation because you haven't got that outside perspective of other people.
Yeah, I love the saying that there's 101 ways to skin a cat. And it's
Mm-hmm.
literally like someone comes to the problem, I've done everything. It's like, all right, what have you done? And there's like, well, two things.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can be a little bit more creative than that.
Yeah.
Um, Valerie said, I can't do small talk. I'm shit at it. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a conversation that came up with Mario actually a while ago. And I was like, I remember when I used to struggle with even doing small talk, but
Mm-hmm.
not because like I'm such a great conversationalist now that I am, but it's because I was fucking nervous as shit. Had social anxiety and I didn't want to go up and talk to anyone. I didn't even know how to do it. So the moments when I actually was able to talk about the weather or what was in front of me, right, was a massive step for me. And so I used to say the same shit like, oh, fuck, I can't be bothered with this small talk bullshit. I just want to have deep conversations with people. Like that's where it's at. But you don't know that the person that's coming to you and talking about the weather or the fucking traffic driving past,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a massive step for them. And that
Yeah.
in order to hold that space for them, the impact that you might be having. And then on the flip side, just to be an example of someone that is emanating unconditional love anyway,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be all up in that surface level conversation, that small talk. Next time,
Yeah.
if you take on board anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I always found small talk really hard as well, because I was the same. I always wanted depth. I'd always say, I just want depth. I want something real. I want something that I can, sink my claws into and really talk about. But again, with different personality types, if everyone was like you and I, we'd all be exhausted, right? Like we need those other people, because I've got people around me who do ground me, because I can't, I it's not in me. I'm
Yeah.
like a balloon. I always need people to kind of pull me down, or I would just float away. I would never be able to
Yes.
have that. So those
Yep.
people bringing the small talk sometimes go, okay, so maybe I don't have to be deep and exhausting all the time as well, and
Yeah.
that they do help balance me out, because it is something that doesn't come naturally to me is to kind of sit on the fence and just do small talk. Sometimes I need other people to lighten me up a little bit because I can get so deep that it it can go in directions where you're like, okay, so we're just at a coffee shop, like we don't need to be talking about this to this level.
Also what I'd say with that is that I would challenge yourself, Valerie, because this is what I went through with that, is that it's actually, again, bring it back to, it's all about us. It's a reflection of ourselves. So there would be, I would predict, like there would be an aspect of yourself that is not comfortable with the small talker within you, who might be, you might be judging yourself as someone that's unintelligent, or that might be something around just those people, whatever the trigger is that's coming up. The reason why you don't like small talk around people, well, you said you're shit at it. Well, there'd be a reason that you think that about yourself. So yeah, it's actually there, here to show you these aspects of yourself to own and love about yourself, which is really cool.
And
so
can I add a little point on there as well from my side of things? It may be that you're actually craving good communication. So you can't do small talk because you're craving that, really you're not finding it. So you're feeling like every person isn't, you maybe haven't got someone in your life that's really invested in how you're communicating and what you want to communicate about. So it always feels surface level because you feel like they're not hearing you, but maybe it's about you scratching that depth as well and finding people that are really invested in hearing that as well.
Can you see the comments?
No.
Swipe left or right, I think it works.
Yeah, let me try. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I can't see them.
That's
I can't see them after I joined. Is there questions?
Okay. No, not really. No other ones come up. Just people telling everyone how beautiful you're looking today.
Oh, well, thank you, people.
God sent to listen to, and that you haven't offended any one of them just yet. So you're still not being polarizing.
Still time.
What can we say to offend someone?
Oh,
I was wondering
God.
if I should say that I do want to offend people on purpose, but I don't know if I do. So I'll reserve that one. But I mean, I like poking the bear, I like rustling feathers.
Well, then it's not so much about you being honest about you then. It's about you inciting an emotion about someone else. So then it's more so about maybe what can you talk about that is super, super passionate, it's really hard to budge you on a certain topic that we should be debating.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's with the intent, isn't it? So you wouldn't go into it with the intent of, I'm going to fuck someone up here.
Yeah.
But more so, I want to share what is my truth here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if someone doesn't like it, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, totes. Because it's and the way that I tend to offend people is by being so honest about where I stand with things, and that I'm not willing to compromise on that, or unless they're willing to really come at me as well, really come at me with their points. And people think that I'm getting aggressive, but I'm just getting passionate because I love hearing how other people are passionate about it, about a subject. So I'm like, ask me, and I'll ask them 100 different questions, and I'll play devil's advocate and do those things because I constantly need to be pushed as well mentally, because a lot of people do find it hard to challenge me on things when I get started, that they'll either back down or they'll just go, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, no, I need you to push me, because I need that mental stimulation to be like, push me, because I don't want you to keep telling me I'm right.
Yeah, my managers and bosses in the past have not been that way inclined, because I do like pushing people, and I got fired from just simply asking too many questions from some places. And pushing the back, challenging their beliefs, challenging the systems. And now we've created a space where we can do it. It's awesome.
Anytime we want. Anytime we 100%. Want. It's going to be amazing. So I guess I would put that to your audience about, what is it that they want to talk about too? What is it, something they can maybe debate with you on, do a live about, something that they're just super passionate about that they feel gets a lot of judgment, or they feel like doesn't get spoken about enough, or they have a bit of a another way of looking at something that they could jump on and talk to you about. Because if you're wanting to get in that back and forward as well, that's really cool.
Yeah, true. There you go, guys.
Challenge set, guys.
Challenge been set. Been kicking out of the 2 churches for asking too many questions. Well, you know the church, Tony, they don't like us smart folk all with our questions and whatnot.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say, is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything else you wanted to share before we wrap it up?
No, I'm pretty good. We can always find another. I think just as a general recap, I can't stress enough how amazing 2019 is going to be for everyone. And if you feel like in that moment that you go to bite your tongue, that's the time to speak. Like if you really feel like in that moment you're pulling back or you're going, oh, I shouldn't, this year, make it the year that you just speak a little bit more about and understand a little bit more about where you are coming from and how you feel. And it doesn't mean, again, yelling it from the rooftops, but I think change those patterns about getting to your authentic self by any time you feel like you step back, step forward. If you feel like you're going to bite your tongue, start speaking. Try and change those, those little things will create the bigger action. And the whole action for everyone, I think, is really understanding who they are properly. So, yeah.
All right. So quickly, to hold us accountable and what we're doing in 2019, you go first.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I wasn't ready for this. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. We're like, oh, I'm going to sweat now. Yeah, fully. Okay. So for me, I will be I'm going to be speaking about topics that I'm super passionate about, regardless of the response for it. Like we were talking about that whole offending people and talking. I'm going to be talking that a lot. I'm going to do it daily in my groups with my women, and I'm going to be speaking a lot about changing stereotypes and strength and what being a woman is, and across the feminist movement and everything. So I'm really going to ruffle some feathers about my opinions on that and where I tend to be going with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Your turn.
On. All right. So I'm going to be growing a tribe, an army of rule breakers who are going to be getting out and breaking all the rules of living in an ordinary, shitty life that has been programmed into a lot of us. And I'm going to be taking my live event around Australia, America, and part of it through Asia throughout this year. And just doing that, just growing the tribe as big as I can. And just essentially, down to its core, is just promoting unconditional love. Yeah.
Comfort zone.
Fucking, where the fuck did it go?
Fully, I hear ya.
Holy shit balls. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on again, Matt. I think this is the third one.
Yeah, you're leading the way.
Yeah.
Top guest so far. Love it. Thanks for hanging out again.
And if anyone has any questions for me, I guess, or on these topics, please comment on it below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts, your real thoughts on it. Give me the grit.
Absolutely.
I want to hear it.
100%.
Fully.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reach out. And yeah, guys, keep doing yourselves. Be authentic, be awesome, be brave, be bold. Love you guys lots. Take it easy.